Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to St Mary's Vicarage on this Christmas Eve 2020. What a gloriously sunny day it is outside, though, of course, on the news we've heard this morning that unfortunately some areas of our nation are facing flooding as if things couldn't get much worse. Now, of course, everything is changing constantly for us. I hope you like the antlers and my flashing necklace. I find when we get to the craziness that we're in at the moment, if you can't beat them, join them is probably the best thing. But as I say, things are changing hugely, very, very quickly. And we heard yesterday that lots more people are going to be going into tier 4 from Boxing Day, 1 minute past midnight on Boxing Day, including where all of my family and some of our friends live in Oxfordshire. So my heart really goes out to folk there who really at the 11th hour have probably had their sort of Christmas plans dashed because they're just not going to be able to do the things that they wanted to do. And we had some friends that were going to be, I think they were due to travel down to see parents in Cornwall, and then we're going to pop in and we were going to go for a walk on the way back, on their way back from Cornwall after the Christmas celebrations with our godchildren, but that sadly is not going to happen now. So all of these things are sort of, being changed. But all that said, I'm sure somewhere we can try and find a bit of joy in things, and let's look out for our neighbours and friends. And if you've got friends, or particularly people that are on their own who are stuck in tier 4 or whatever, give them a phone call, do a video call with them, just see how creative we can be on keeping in touch with folk. It's really, really important this time of year. Now, I've just been in the church with our lovely, in Handley Church with our lovely church warden, Sue. We've been getting everything ready for this evening. The church looks absolutely fantastic. If you haven't been into St Mary's yet, please do go in. As I've been saying for some time, our wonderful local WI, they have made a life-size nativity in the church, which is just fantastic, and decorated the church. And also the flower team have been working their magic as well, and the church just looks fantastic. I find just being in there, there's music playing, carols are playing all day as you go in. I just find sitting there for 5 or 10 minutes and just soaking all of that up, it just helps wash all the rubbish away that we're having to deal with at the moment. So do please visit the church. And of course, just a reminder of what our church services are going to be this Christmas. At 6:30 this evening, we will have a said Holy Communion. There will be music. We'll play music, but we can't sing carols, unfortunately. But 6:30, there'll be a said Holy Communion in St Mary's. And then tomorrow morning, firstly at St Mary's, there'll be a 10 o'clock Holy Communion service at St Mary's, followed by an 11:15 Holy Communion service at St Rumbold's. Now, we are limited a bit on space, though Sue and I have worked out this morning, we've cleared another area of pews that we were just storing stuff in this morning, and we can fit in far more than we were expecting. So we can, providing people are in family groups and such like and stay in that bubble, we could probably fit 50 plus in the church this evening and on Christmas Day. Providing you stay in your family groups and such like, we think we can work that. St Rumbold's is a much smaller church, and working with the church wardens down there, we can probably squeeze in about 30 people. Some will have to sit in the porch. We can fit a couple of families in the porch and one family in the tower area. So just be aware of that, because it is first come, first served. And if you're the kind of person that gets to church 1 minute before it happens, you may be disappointed if we have a lot of people and it's full, because unfortunately under the regulations we just have to say, I'm sorry, you can't come in. So please just do be aware of that if you are intending to come to the Christmas services. However, of course, thanks to modern technology, Not the Christmas Eve service, but the service, Christmas Day service tomorrow, the 10 o'clock service tomorrow. That will be broadcast live on the YouTube channel. And we've got a little bit of an extra treat. I can see Mary's tuned in this morning, so that's good. That will save me an email, Mary. Thanks for your email. Yes, it would be absolutely fantastic if your son could play the organ for us tomorrow on Christmas Day as people come in, go out, and that would be great. I think that would just add a little bit of festivity to it if he's got a few Christmas organ medleys or something like that. So yes, please, Mary, if you could pass that on to your sonny, and it'd be fantastic if he can play the organ for us tomorrow. He might need to warm it up a bit because it hasn't been played for quite some time, but that would be great. So that's our Christmas services. And of course, the church will remain open throughout Christmas week. So, you know, do come up. The nativity will be there. The carols will be playing, and you can just take in some of the atmosphere. Now, we are very, very lucky here in Dorset because we are not being put up into a higher tier. For now, we are remaining in tier 2. Though if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be surprised if by New Year or before New Year's Eve, or even just afterwards, we're in a national lockdown. But for now, we are very lucky because we are in tier 2. And I think that's a wonderful thing, but I really do think that puts an onus on us and a responsibility on us, particularly when we think that there are millions of other Brits who really can't even leave their house over Christmas. They're not going to be allowed to travel or do anything that they would maybe normally want to do. And we are in tier 2. And though that means that we're very, very privileged because, you know, we can go outside, we can meet people outside and things like that, I think there's an even bigger onus on us to follow the rules that we have in tier 2, purely out of respect for those of our friends, family and other Brits who are in tier 4 situations. You know, just because we've got a slightly relaxed situation here, let's not take advantage of it, I think, because I feel in a sense out of respect for others that are there. So the good news is, though, because we will still be in tier 2 on Boxing Day, it means the woozle hunt, the socially distanced woozle hunt, can go ahead, okay, because it's all outside. We won't be going into the church. People can meet up outside St Mary's Church 10 o'clock on Boxing Day. Socially distanced, you need to stay within your own family group or bubble. And as we walk around the wreck hunting the woozle, we need to keep that separation. Okay, but apart from that, I think we'll be able to have a bit of fun. Okay, so just a reminder with the nonsense of the woozle. Of course, woozles are mythical creatures that they steal your mince pies, and you may have noticed this already. If you've left a plate or a box of mince pies outside on the kitchen table or somewhere, and you've come back and you've found one is missing, and nobody takes responsibility for eating that mince pie, you have a woozle problem. And due to an ancient bylaw, we are allowed to hunt the woozle in certain towns. Shrivenham hunts the woozle. I don't know if their hunt is going on tomorrow, but on Boxing Day. But we can hunt the woozle at Handley on Boxing Day. Now, in order to hunt the woozle, it's good if you can get a bit dressed up. You need your hunting attire. Wellies would be good, I think, on Boxing Day. And you need to make yourself a woozle net. Get one of your fishing nets from the summer. Put a bit of tinsel around it. Put some baubles on it. There'll be a prize for the best decorated woozle net. Okay. And you need to put a mince pie in your woozle net to bait the net. And you will need to keep your Christmas cracker jokes from Christmas Day. Keep your Christmas cracker jokes, because when we find a woozle nest, what we need to do is we say the joke, and that lures the woozle out of the nest because it thinks it's Christmas and it can smell the mince pies. Okay, so that's how we hunt the woozle. There'll be a prize for the best woozle joke as well. Now, of course, being very politically correct, if you want to come as a hunt saboteur or an anti-woozle hunter, then you can do as well. What you'll need then is to have a placard or something if you want a sign saying save the woozle, save the woozle. So you can have a placard. I will have a few that I've already made that people can have. And then you need a bell or a rattle or shaker or tambourine, something to make a noise so that after the joke is told, the woozle joke is told, when everybody else is laughing, the hunt saboteurs have to make a noise and you sing the first verse of Good King Wenceslas. Of course, all socially distanced. And that frightens the woozle back into its nest. Okay, so we don't go on any roads or paths. We will make our way around the recreation ground a bit. Depending on what the weather is like, that will depend how far we decide to walk on the day. Last year it was absolutely chucking it down with rain, but lots of good people turned up and we did a shorter version. But we'll see what the weather's like on Boxing Day. Okay, so that's 10 o'clock. It'll last about an hour. So there'll be a prize for the best woozle net, a prize for the best woozle joke, a prize for the best hunting attire, and a prize for the best anti-hunter attire or placard or sign or whatever. Okay, so there'll be some prizes for that. What we won't be able to do, unfortunately, which we've done in previous years, is normally after the woozle hunt we've come into the church and we've served mulled wine and such like. Because of restrictions, we're not able to do that. However, what I would encourage all families to do is bring your hip flask along in true hunting style. Have your hip flask upon you, chaps and ladies. Bring a thermos flask of mulled wine if you wish, and that can be consumed as we go round, so it's all jolly and cheery and warming. Okay, so that's the woozle hunt on Boxing Day. So I hope that will liven things up a little bit for us here. I don't think the woozle hunt in Shrivenham is going to go ahead because I just realised, of course, Paul Shrivenham is in Tier 2. So all my lovely friends who live in Shrivenham, I'm really sorry if your woozle hunt is not going ahead on Boxing Day, but we will be keeping up the woozle tradition down here in Handley for you. So I hope that's okay. So that's really it for Christmas. This is going to be my last broadcast until the new year because I'm going to have a little bit of R&R after Christmas just with the family. So we will pick up the broadcasts again on Tuesday. I think it's the 2nd. Let me just check my calendar. On the 2nd of January, which is it's not Tuesday. Yeah, so Saturday the 2nd of January, we will be back on air. Okay, so but there'll be no broadcasts in Christmas week, though I hope to see some of you walking around the village and such like as we do in that same. So a few messages this morning. Thank you for all your Christmas messages. I hear the Dyers are reporting they've got a serious woozle problem in their house this morning. Don't worry, we'll do our best to solve that, Mike and Annie and family. So there we go. I've got to pick up my turkey this morning. Mustn't forget to do that as the butcher closes at midday. They were very, very busy today. Take my hat off to John and the team at our local butchers. They've been working really hard to make sure we get all of our turkeys and Christmas supplies. There was a big long queue there yesterday, but it was all fairly friendly, I think, and cordial. And well done to our butchers. And a big thank you to our Nisa folk, people that work down at Nisa, the lovely Nisa shop. There's a fantastic team there. We are so lucky to be able to just walk into that shop and, you know, they've normally got more or less everything you need, unless you're doing something very bizarre and obscure. Oysters and caviar they struggle with, but everything else is there. So a big thank you to that team. Ben, of course, works down there. He's going to be working on Boxing Day, so he's going to miss the woozle hunt, or at least the end of it. So thank you to the lovely team down at Nisa that are open for us and everything. So even if we end up in a higher tier, at least we know we can get down to those shops. So, as if COVID wasn't enough, of course, we've got Brexit as well. It's all hotting up. I don't know. I've been cleaning the church, so maybe the Brexit deal is done. However, the real upset for Kate and I this morning when we were hearing about this was when they said on the news that it might interrupt the Christmas programme schedule. Mr. Johnson, we are delighted as Prime Minister that you have managed to sort out a deal with your team, and that's great. But please do not disrupt the Christmas Eve schedule of programmes. to tell us about Brexit. You know, it can wait. We're good. And in the politest possible way, Mr. Johnson, I would prefer to watch the Dancing on Ice special than hear you harking on about Brexit and how wonderful and what a great job you've done. Politely said to our Prime Minister. There we go. And of course, the Queen's speech, apparently that hasn't been recorded. So maybe the Queen's going to do a live speech, or it's being recorded today. Lots of things that they've had to hold off for all sorts of reasons. But that will be interesting to see what Her Majesty has to say to us on Christmas Day. So, folks, I hope wherever you are that you have as good a Christmas as you possibly can. We're all mindful of those family members that we are separated from, both in a sense physically, and those that we are, and we're feeling this in our family as well, those family members that are separated from us by the shore and horizon of eternity at this time, and we're also mindful of those people too. But I'm sure together we can celebrate the great feast of the birth of Jesus. And what we must remember is, though we hear those Christmas stories or the Bible stories, and they're sort of read out, and it all seems very sort of twee and nice and Silent Night and everything like that. Of course, as I wrote in the Downsman, that wasn't the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation was that a young woman pregnant with a child was potentially facing disgrace and ostracization, or even worse, stoning to death. But Joseph, her husband, he understood what was happening after an angel visited him. But if that wasn't enough, she wasn't able to give birth to her first child in her own home, because the politics of their day, the turmoil and the upset of their day with a Roman Empire that had invaded their lands, a hopeless king Herod in charge, a puppet king of the Roman Empire. It was not a good place to live. And, you know, those of you who are parents, and particularly mums, just imagine putting yourself in Mary's shoes, and it's a few days, or your baby is due at any time, and then you're told by the authorities that you must go back to the town that you were born in, or the town that your husband was born in. And they have to make a fairly arduous journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem. And when they get there, it is chaos. We see the chaos that is happening down in the ports at the moment with lorry drivers and everything like that. That was Bethlehem. People had turned up there. Nothing was organised. The inns were full. It was absolutely chaos. And here was a young woman about to give birth. But they finally are given some room in a stable, a cave, a place where animals were kept. And that is where she gave birth to her firstborn child. But not only her firstborn child, but the King of the universe. So let's remember this. Though things are pretty crap at the moment, and our world is turned upside down, and nothing quite seems to make sense, that is exactly the world that our Messiah was born into just over 2,000 years ago. A world of chaos and calamity, a world of uncertainty. But that light broke through into the darkness and shone out. And it was at that point that the wheels of history and eternity were turned. And that light shines on us today, even in the darkness of the calamity of COVID and issues with Brexit and all of that. Even in our despair, in our grief, in suffering, bereavement in so many ways, bereavement of losing family, loved ones, bereavement of losing jobs, bereavement of losing the way of life that we have come to love over this past year. Despite all of that, that light shines through in the darkness. It is there. All we have to do is open our arms and our hands out and ask for that light to come and fill our hearts and our souls. And it will do. And no matter what is happening, no matter how much the darkness feels that it is encroaching in on us, our hearts will soar and sing with the angels. So let's try and do that this Christmas. Now, I'm not going to give you a meditation because it's Christmas Eve. There's only one thing I can read on Christmas Eve, and that was the night before Christmas. So I'm going to finish with that, folks, and I hope to see some of you at the services over Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or online, but let's have the night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestling all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there across such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the lustre of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so jolly and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his course they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer, now Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner, on Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wind hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ash and with soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of his pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like a down of thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." 'Twas the night before Christmas. Well, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me this morning. I hope you do have a great Christmas wherever you are, and may the peace and the blessing of the Christ child be with you all this Christmas. Every blessings to you all. Do take care.